Hello and welcome. This is Michele Christensen of One Noteworthy Life, and this is a Plan With Me video for November and December of 2019. I'm using OneNote for Windows 10, and I'm going to walk you through how I evaluate the past month and get set up for the upcoming month. This video will also include the results of a 3-month experiment I did using a paper planner in an effort to fix my overstuffed, overwhelming and crammed daily page. I had planned to report the results of this experiment in November's Plan With Me, so it's going to be included in here. And I have a video explaining why I chose that particular tool to try and fix this problem and what I hope to get out of it. And that video is linked in the description. Because this video is a little longer than my usual Plan With Me's, there will be timestamps in the description so that you can skip ahead if you want to. The reason these 2 months are combined is that I took a somewhat spontaneous 10-day trip back to the East Coast of the United States where my family is, and that was in early November. And between scrambling to get ready for that trip and then it was mid-November by the time I got back, it was so late in the month that it made sense to post November's Plan With Me right alongside December's Plan With Me. And I'll talk more about that trip later in this video. As usual for my Plan With Me videos, I've already done this process, so I'm going to walk you through this. The reason I do it after completing the process is because I take this time between months to really evaluate and kind of set new goals for the month. And then if I film afterwards, I can give you a concise overview rather than trying to rush through the thinking process so that I can present it on camera. The other reason is that there's not really much in the way of OneNote tips to show you. You'll see that my pages are mostly lists and texts, so there's not a lot of OneNote tips or tricks. So yeah, here's our outline. I'm going to start with a November Plan With Me, give you the results of that experiment, and then do December's Plan With Me. So on to November. Very first thing I do each month is I review the prior month's goals. So in this case, that would be October. So my first goal for October was to stay on my editorial schedule. I didn't hit my editorial goals for October, and this is for One Noteworthy Life, which is my YouTube channel and blog. So I didn't hit my editorial calendar, but I feel like each month as I focus on this, I get a little bit closer and I learn a little bit more about creating and sticking to an editorial calendar. I didn't realize how much of a challenge this would be when I started on YouTube, and there's actually a lot that goes into a video before I film, after I film, and before it gets posted on YouTube, and then after. So it takes quite a bit, there's quite a bit of pieces to kind of keep on track and make sure they hit the schedule. So I'm learning and refining as I go, and I hope to just keep getting better at it until I can just routinely hit every single mark on my editorial calendar. So the next goal I had was to work on the text setup for the Take Note chat. And if you don't know, I up until a few months ago, I hosted a monthly live chat usually with a guest on a OneNote related topic. And YouTube changed their streaming, so making it harder to bring a guest on. So I've had to work and find some new technology, and it's been taking a little bit longer for me to get that set up and rolling. So I did spend some time on this, and I think that's part of why I didn't hit my editorial goals, but I didn't get to a final solution. I did want to get some site updates done. That was my next goal, and I got all of those done, which I feel really good about that. Everything's all updated, and everything's backed up and updated and running smoothly behind the scenes, so I'm really psyched about that. And then I just put this random note here, which is that I got an iPad. I jumped in and bought it because I've been really wanting to get an iPad because I get a ton of questions about using OneNote on the iPad. I'm usually unable to answer them because I don't have an iPad, but I had found a really good deal and I wanted to jump on it. So this is the first Apple product I've ever owned, and getting into this whole new ecosystem of technology was some work. There's some things to get used to and some things that I had to set up and stuff. And I'm still working out the details of how to film videos. That's taken quite a bit of time as well. I don't regret it one bit, though. It's been really fun so far, not only learning to use the iPad, but also I'm learning some new filming and lighting skills and some technical skills around filming a screen, which is actually not very easy. In fact, if you're interested in learning more about using OneNote on your iPad, I'm now hosting the OneNote for iPad group over on Facebook. So that'll be linked in the description. Come on over and join the group, and you can share your wisdom and get your questions answered. So that does it for the business goals. The next step is to review my personal goals. So one of my first goals every month is to set a calorie average. This is how much I want to under eat by each day. So um, I had gained some weight a while back, and I'm working on getting back to a healthy body weight. I hit this goal, really excited. I'm going to go a little higher next month. The weight is starting to come off, and my body composition is improving. I use a body fat scale, which measures more than just your weight. It's so I can tell I'm losing fat and gaining lean body mass. I'm not losing quite as fast as I want to be, and I love slow weight loss. I think it's absolutely the way to go, but it can be a little faster than what it is now. So my next goal was focused around my current theme. It was my theme for 2019, and at this point, it's going to be beyond 2019. And that theme is Be Ready. And so I have a video and a playlist, in fact, linked in the description with what this theme means and how I'm implementing it. And my area of focus for this month was to do all of my daily habits regularly and stay on top of them, stay current with them. And I've been doing really good with this. Putting it at the forefront, making it this really important goal has helped me to do them every day. And I feel like not only is my tracker getting current, but I can see the effects in my life, which is really nice. So my third goal has to do with some personal burnout that I'm kind of coming out of. I have been reading this book called Peak Performance, which is actually about how to train and perform at your highest level without burning out. And I finished the book, and I worked on creating some specific implementation steps that I can do. And two of the big things that I have are a specific list of recovery activities, and I want to plan on taking more trips. And my trip in November was a great start. That was just an awesome and much needed reset. So the next thing I have going on is we actually are working with our local city in we're having a problem with our sewer line, and we're having trouble sorting out like who's responsible for fixing it and what department and all that stuff. So I kind of stalled on that a little bit, but I really do need to get something happening with that because we can't just leave it unfixed. The next goal I had was to book my East Coast trip, which I did. Really happy with that. It went great. And then my final goal has to do with we replaced our dishwasher, and there was just the last few little details like reinstalling the baseboards, making sure I had a copy of the manual stored in an electronic form, and little odds and ends like that. And I did that, and it feels really good. I will tell you, I think something that has hung me up in the last few years of my life is that, especially with our house, we bought a fixer-upper house. The big thing was to get the dishwasher replaced. And then for a lot of things, it's like, oh, well, all these other things are low priority, so I can just leave them. And I think that that's a case where like prioritizing things actually works against me because, I finished the big thing, but I've got 5 little things still hanging around, and I have this sense of it not being truly done. So I completed everything. It's totally done, and I'm really happy with that. This next page is something I call What Else? I do this every month, and it's just a place where I write down things that happen, unexpected things, good things, bad things, whatever, that somehow impacted how my month turned out. So the first thing is C is Chris, my husband. He jumped on this security system, and I'm so glad to have that taken care of. It's something we have been talking about and kind of bouncing around, but to be, really actively working on it is great. I also added a component to my fitness plan, which is a specific bone strength plan. So I'm really jazzed about that. I really like the idea of having a varied fitness program that addresses all of the aspects of health, like flexibility, strength, heart health, weight, bone strength, all that kind of stuff. I also got the iPad and started setting up my filming station. And then the final thing I wrote in my What Else section has to do with the book I was reading, which is Peak Performance. And this is how to see my purpose and core values more often. So there's an exercise in that book defining your purpose and core values. And I want to make sure that I don't just do it once and never look at it. So I've put some reminders in to make sure I look at it. And I also have reminders to schedule regular recovery activities and trips. So I feel like that's a really good plan for implementing what I learned in that book. The next page is my October annual plan, and this is what I thought I'd be doing in October when I set up the year 2019 at the beginning of the year. And the only thing I have is a family birthday. That was great. It was really fun. And I deliberately kept this year's 2019's plan really light to help me feel more on top of things. So that has worked out really well, and I might do that again in 2020. The final piece for October is, this is my, let me scroll a bit so this is more on the screen. The final bit for October is this calendar, and I put one of these in every single month, and then each day I write something good that happened. And I really like this a lot because it forces me to go through the day and find something good that happened, no matter how trivial it is or how tough of a day it was, something good happened. So that's been really helping me. So moving into November, I'm going to combine the setting of goals and the review in one step, just to help keep the video shorter. I can do this in this case because November is already done. So starting with November's goals for One Noteworthy Life. Again, I'm going to try following that editorial schedule, which this month has 4 videos on it. Now in November, I only got 2 done, but setting up that iPad filming station took a lot of time. There was just a lot of technical stuff, a lot of research, a lot of trial and error. And then I also took that trip on short notice. So I don't feel terrible about that. My next goal was to get the tech setup done for my chat, and I didn't make any trip on that, again, because of the trip, the iPad, and then I also got a new camera to help me film videos on the iPad. But I did get the iPad filming station set up, at least good enough to get the first video up, so that feels great. And just kind of a side note is I definitely want to do more iPad videos. They're really fun, and I really enjoy doing them. So on to personal goals. So I had a calorie goal of under eating by about 410 calories a day. I didn't hit this, but the trip kind of got in the way, and it was also Thanksgiving. So I'm going to have the same goal for December, but I do think it's going to be pretty challenging with the holidays and all the extra events and things like that. My focus in the kind of theme of Be Ready is to keep focusing on doing all those daily habits regularly, and I want to keep doing those until that I'm doing just about everything every day, and I keep the tracker current and that kind of thing. And I did really well on this. I hit my goal, and the habits are beginning to add up, and I'm seeing the results of it, and it's really helping to keep kind of everything in order in my life. Then in terms of the burnout and the peak performance book, I worked on some implementation steps. As I mentioned before, I've added specific recovery activities to my schedule, and I'm making an active effort to do more non-screen things. I realize that I do spend a lot of time on screens, whether I'm doing something entertaining like playing a game, or from watching something, or even with my work and personal life is kind of all on the computer, or at least managing my personal life is all on the computer. So the sewer project I didn't make any progress on. That's kind of a bummer, but onward and upward. And then on the security system, we have made really good progress on that, and we've got a clear next step, so that's really exciting. Then in November, the what else page, well, I took a 10-day trip with just days notice, so again, that felt really awesome. And I feel like this is evidence that my theme of Be Ready and the things I've been working on to feel more ready in my life, this is kind of evidence of that, because I could have never taken a 10-day trip with just 9 days notice at any time in the past. So that feels great. We also have a new family member. Jack the dog came to live with us. Sweetheart, we love him. And Thanksgiving happened, so that was fun too. And then here is my November annual plan, and this is what I thought November would look like when I set the year up. So there was a possible business event. You can see that's crossed out because it didn't happen. And then we had a family birthday, we had Thanksgiving, and I wanted to start planning my 2020, which all of that has happened. And then finally, here is my November completed calendar. I'm going to scroll so that's centered on the screen. So I just love looking back at this, all the colors and the neat little things that happened. It really, perks me up. So that's it for November, and I'm now going to move into telling you about the results of my experiment. So if you're not interested in this, use the timestamp in the description to skip right into December's plan. Okay, so in this part of the video, I'm going to share with you the results of the experiment I mentioned earlier of using a paper planner. And again, if you want to see how I laid the experiment out, there's a video detailing that that's linked in the description. But in short, I experimented with this specific paper planner to try and train myself to limit the amount of tasks I cram onto my daily page. I was adding just way too many things and spending way too much time migrating and managing all those open tasks, and I needed to find some way to retrain myself to schedule a more reasonable workload for the day. And nothing I had tried so far had worked. So I decided to try using this full focus planner by Michael Hyatt. Now, I was not keen on using a paper tool. I really like having everything digital, but I thought that some of the inherent limits of paper, things like I can only write so much on a page, and it takes more time and effort to recopy things. So I thought those limits would help me to not cram so much on the page. One of the other things I was hoping to get out of this is I wanted to get more familiar with Michael Hyatt's work. He has been a high up executive in a couple of big companies, and now he writes and podcasts and teaches people about, kind of time management and goals and things like that. So I wanted to get more familiar with his work as well. And one of the things I liked about a lot of the paper planners that have come out in the last few years is that they have this whole system and philosophy behind them, and this one's no exception. It was a great sort of way to get familiar with how he thinks and how he plans and how he schedules, and that was really valuable. So that was the experiment, and now I'm going to tell you what I think I got out of it. So I definitely learned a lot. I got what I wanted out of it, and I learned a lot about Michael Hyatt and his philosophies and ideas, and I have there's a few of his books that I want to read as well. I'm still way over scheduling myself, but I'm beginning to see that I'm doing that, and I'm beginning to get better at it. So that's a huge step forward. So the second thing I learned was he has this concept of the ideal week, and this was a huge change for me. And it's laid out in more detail. There's training videos and stuff like that, but the idea is that you write down what an ideal week would look for you. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, oh my God, every week's different. How could I possibly have an ideal week? And that's 100% true. It doesn't mean that you're going to hit that ideal week every week. It just means that you have a sense of what your ideal week might be like. And I would liken this to if you've ever done any sort of like vision exercise where you write down your ideal life. It doesn't mean you're there, and it doesn't mean you're going to get every one of those things soon, but you just have a vision of what you want it to look like. So I was a little skeptical, but I did it anyway because I really try to always have a beginner's mind when I'm learning something new. And I started with kind of like the big rocks, the big items, and the set weekly things, and then I gradually filled in other pieces. And what I ended up with was not a set schedule, but kind of themed days. So certain days are just for work, or primarily for work. Certain days are just for personal stuff. My husband and I have a fixer-upper house, and we do a lot of work on it, and there's still a lot of work to be done on it. So I have a day where that's the focus, is having repairmen come in, that kind of thing. And that doesn't mean that's all I do. It just means that would be the day to schedule those things. And then I have some combo days where it might be a combo of work, personal errands, etc. And then on Fridays, I have a flex day. So I do whatever I need to do to get caught up to get me set for the weekend. So sometimes that's work. I might have a social event on Friday. I might catch a workout. I might catch up on some personal things or errands, but that day is kind of there to end the week out. It has helped me to feel really a lot less overwhelmed, and I spend a lot less time switching. So if, instead of trying to do all of those things some of those things every day, like, have a repairman come, work, do errands, work on personal stuff, and work out, that's a lot to cram into a day. But by batching them together, it's kind of mega batching, and it's made me a lot more efficient and less overwhelmed, and I spend less time switching and managing. So that's kind of a summary. Let me know if you want to see that in more detail because I'd be happy to share about that. If you want to see that in more detail, just leave a comment below. So another thing that I learned was more about routines. I've always had, or for a long time, I've had a morning and a bedtime routine. In my mind, it would be just a few things like, before bed, I would, obviously brush my teeth, wash my face, set up the coffee for the morning, lay my clothes out, just those kind of little things. And I've added a lot to my routines, and especially in the morning. And what it does for me is make sure kind of the daily undercurrent of things get done, and then the tasks are more like a one-off. So the routines are all the things that kind of keep the household and the life running, and then tasks come up one by one, and I can just kind of take care of those. It's working great. I'm really happy with it. The structure of this planner did help me to get some control. As I said, I still way overestimate what I can get done in a day, but I'm not nearly as bad as I was. It's a work in progress, but I'm learning to be more realistic. And I'm also learning sort of on a deeper and more personal level that if I split my focus, nothing gets done. And I'm way better off focusing on one thing and then on the next and then on the next. Like there's just a limit to how thin I can spread my focus. So the final concept I took from this that I really liked is the idea of the big three. So in this planner, you choose a weekly and a daily big three. And these are things that on the weekly or daily basis that you really want to get done. They're the most important things you can do. I only did the daily big three because I don't really do a to-do list for the week. I do it for the day. But it's a really useful concept because it's before any new inputs come in, like before you check your email or check your voicemail or whatever, you decide on the three most important things that you have to do that day, and typically they align with your goals. And it's only after doing my routines and those three things that I look at what I could do next. So this was a thought kind of along those lines that I took from Michael Hyatt's podcast. He said that high achievers focus on what didn't get done. And if you put 15 items on your list and 10 get done, a high achiever will focus on the 5 that didn't get done. And so having this big three, it forces you to pick 3 or up to 3 things that you really have to get done. And if you get those things done, it's a win. And it takes the focus off all the things you didn't get done. Like once you get those 3 done, like already there's some level of win in your day. The other thing it did for me is if something urgent came up, I had these big important tasks that I had to find to weigh it against. And it helped me to consider, like, is this thing really urgent? Like, is it worth bumping out something that I have defined is really important to me? So in conclusion, I'm really glad I did this and I got a lot out of it. It was fun to revisit paper for a while, but by the end I was really eager to get back into using digital-only tools. I just can't keep all my life on track using only paper. And having that one extra thing to fill out and an extra place for all, like, just the stuff of my life, it wasn't something that worked well for me, and I didn't like the inefficiency of writing things down, having to recopy them, and the fact that I can't find them later easily using a search function. But again, I'm glad I did it. So, on to December. So, starting with One Noteworthy Life, I'm going to have that same first goal, which is to follow my editorial schedule. I have 4 to 5 videos I want to put up this month. The next goal was the same as last month, get that text set up for the Take Note chat completed and schedule my next chat. And then I want to continue to learn my new camera and get better at filming with it. I put a question mark in that middle goal on the Take Note chat because after I had written these 3 goals out, I was kind of thinking this editorial schedule, getting on top of that is like really, really important to me. And I feel like it's a big next step into like, continuing to grow my channel and being able to put out more quality content because I'll be able to sequence things and get them out on time and that kind of thing. And learning the new camera is part of that because I need to get better at filming so I can get more iPad videos out quickly. And I thought that I might not have enough bandwidth to do the Take Note chat setup as well. So that's why there's a question mark there. I don't know if I'm going to have enough extra bandwidth to get that done. And the other 2 things are so important. So that's a realization I don't think I would have had a few months ago. I think when I first started doing these plan with me's, I would have like 5 to 10 things under each category of personal and work. So I've gotten a lot better. And my personal goals for December, that calorie goal is the same. I'm going to try and undereat by about 410. For the area of be ready, I'm still going to focus on those daily habits. That's probably going to be my focus area for the next few months until I get everything caught up and current and sort of regularly humming along well. I want to find a next step I can take in the sewer project. We want to continue working on our security system project. And then I want to get my 2020 planned. For December's annual, I just have some holidays in here. My wedding anniversary falls this month, and then I have Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve. And then finally, my December calendar, which has a few days filled in already, because I'm filming a little ways into December. So that's it. I'm going to end this plan with me the way I end almost all of them, which is to really encourage you to try a process like this of setting goals and then reflecting and setting goals for the next month. This has been just a massive force for me in changing my life. And it's not huge changes month to month, but when you stack up those little tiny changes, a lot has changed for me in the last few years. And it's been really, really great. So you don't have to model my process. You can use whatever tools you want, whatever format you want, and start with even one small thing, like one little goal, if that's what works for you. But I just think it's really a great thing to try. So if you have any questions or comments or something you want to see in more detail, leave me a comment below and I will do my best to help you out or find an answer for you. If you want to see more videos like this and OneNote tutorials on a variety of platforms, hit the subscribe button. And if you like this, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.